Shall we begin?
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the More Than Just Keto podcast. I am one of your hosts, Molly.
Hello, and I am your other host, Ashley. So oftentimes when we are starting a new venture, a new diet, a new program, whatever it is, we often look for the guide, right?
Mm-hmm.
The list of things you can and can't do, the list of things you can and can't eat, all of the kind of cliff notes, right? Of like the essentials. That's what we look for, the cliff notes. The real quick, tell me what I can have, tell me what I can't have, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
And in
the
my
quick
opinion,
start.
right, it's
So
like the
it's
quick start. In my opinion, I don't believe in the quick start when it comes to keto because there's a lot of information that you're not getting, and there's a lot that's not being said in those grocery lists and those meal plans and the recipes that you're seeing. It doesn't tell the whole story. And I don't know why, but that drives me nuts. I'm like, okay, these foods are not good or bad. These foods are not no-nos. These foods are not keto food. Like all this jargon that you hear. You hear the dietitian saying, this is an elimination diet. It's not safe. I mean, there's just so many things. And there's so many opinions.
I was going to say opinions. There's so many
opinions. So we want to share our opinion today.
So we're just going to add ours to the mix.
Yeah, so we're going to add ours because
why not?
Because we know you really want that. Just because I feel like there's just too much. And in fact, it can be hard to find your way.
Well, I was going to say too, I agree with you. And I feel like this happens a lot. People that don't even know what they're talking about when it comes to keto because they haven't done the research. They've only gone by what they've heard, are repeating what they've heard rather than the truth. So you and I, being that we're keto, being that we've done the research, being that we are proof that this has changed our lives, it's worked, we've lost weight, we feel better, we're healthier and all that, maybe we know what we're talking about, you know? Maybe. So yeah, I agree with you. There's so many opinions, but goodness, it would be like me. Let me try to think of something I could go give my opinion on. I know nothing about
flying a plane.
Okay, you're there you go, pilot, flying a plane.
But you're going to tell somebody,
right?
Well, this is how you do it.
Exactly. So
or you don't want to do that because of X, Y. How do you know?
How do you know? You don't know. You just heard. You know. So yeah.
It's a trap. That's what I always say. It's a trap. These people are often commenting on what they heard from someone else.
Yeah.
It's not maybe your life experience or the person that's telling you to do or not to do is sometimes not even their experience. It's someone else's
that's so
that
common.
Heard from,
that is common with everything.
Right. So I could think the biggest thing here is that labeling your food good and bad can be kind of a slippery slope.
Absolutely.
It can be not the greatest thing for your headspace, for your mental well-being. A lot of people may argue even that it can cause disordered eating and things like that. And I think there is some truth to the way you go about this process of beginning this journey and the thought process, like your mental health.
I agree.
When you start something like this.
I agree. If you go into it thinking a food is good or a food is bad, right? Eventually, that bad food or the food that you decided to label bad because you saw someone said it was bad, eventually you're going to be confronted with that potential food. It's possible. Are you going to be afraid of the food? Because I've seen that a lot. People become afraid of a food.
Lived it firsthand.
It's food. You cannot be afraid of food. That is not a healthy thing. You said you went through that.
Yeah, I went through that. When I first started keto, I was doing so well. And for the first time, I was actually seeing longer results and faster results than I had ever experienced on any diet, which was probably a really good indication that this was something that was going to work for me because, you know, the weight. And remember, weight loss is a side effect of your choices, but it wasn't it was a big reason I started keto, but it clearly is not the only reason I keto now. It's really for the feelings. But I was finally feeling like I had my food under control, and I was terrified
Oh, to
to
fall
lose
right
that.
off. Yeah, like
Right.
you're
Because
standing
I
on a
had never
tightrope.
gotten this far. So I was like,
Don't go
okay, don't eat that. Don't eat
yeah.
that. And I realized, and
Right,
we
because
had
you were
this conversation. I've said
afraid.
this. I've said this about the whole meltdown of Halloween. That had to
Yeah.
happen to me. I had to have that situation happen, that I had to fall off of my tightrope, because I learned a valuable lesson. This is where this part of this episode comes from, is the realization that we make choices good or bad, not so much food is good or bad.
Oh,
Right?
that's good.
We
Yeah.
make choices for us that works for us or doesn't work for us. The food itself is not necessarily good or bad.
Well,
Obviously, processed things and your junk food and whatever. Is it ideal to eat every day? No. Is there a time and a place for it? I'm gonna tell you, yeah, there is.
right? Right.
So, and that's once again, is that mindset of nothing is good or bad. There's just choices that are going to work better for you, or there's things that you're going to be driven to eat because you like them and you should make them work. And there may even be things that you feel like you can't let go of, that
Right.
you need to work into your lifestyle. And that's okay.
It's totally okay. And you know what else? No one can tell you it is or isn't okay. You have to decide
Exactly.
whether it's okay for you, because if you decide you don't want to get, let's just use an example. I'm going to get hate for this because we're a keto podcast.
I'm sure we get hate anyway.
Probably. So I might get hate for this, but I've come to terms with that because I am very vocal on my personal page about how I eat
What's your
and what
journey?
I
It doesn't
do.
matter. Yeah.
And you know, because you say the same as me,
100%.
we are our own experiment. And you literally
Exactly.
just said a second ago, we're all, I forget exactly what you said. I was going to say something after you said that, but I didn't want to interrupt you. And now, of course, I forgot. But you were talking about we're all individual. And that is the case in everything. But let's just say I don't want to give up a banana. Okay, a banana. That is a high starch, high carb, natural sugar, but it's sugar, and it does affect your
And it's on
glucose.
every no.
And it's on
Okay, so
every
that
no list. It's a no.
everyone,
Yeah,
as a fruit you should not consume.
that's what it says.
Right.
Now,
Right.
I want a banana. Now, I don't want a whole banana. See, here's the thing. For me, I want a taste of a banana sometimes, not all the time.
Right.
So I have it. Okay. But when I have a banana, I adjust the rest of my macros to meet
For the
the
allowance.
goal that I'm looking for, which is to be in ketosis. So am I still able to be in ketosis even though I ate a little bit of banana? I am. And that shocks the crud out of people. Like there are people like, you had a banana? Like,
And
yes,
I think
did.
it comes from this idea that people assume that they know everything about keto, and that
Because that's what they heard.
that's what they heard, or that's what they read, or that's what someone told them.
And they're afraid to be their own experiment. They're afraid to
Because
try.
you want to be told. When we talked about this in a
Yeah, at
couple
the beginning.
episodes ago, about you want the meal plan, you want the list, you just want to be told what to do instead of figuring it out along
I'm a
the
rebel,
way and
so I
creating
don't.
your journey. Right. But the main thing is that it isn't a full elimination diet. And I think
No,
that this
right.
is where people kind of go Ari right here. You know what I mean? They go misled.
Yeah.
This is where people are misled. They believe that they cannot have any of those things.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of negative thinking, right? I can't have this. I can't do that. I can't have this. I can't eat this anymore. I'm never going to have this again. Nothing is forever. And
No.
never say never, because you can always make allowances or changes or, choices. It just means when you do keto, you want to reach that state of ketosis like you're talking about.
Yeah.
You need to limit your
right.
carbs
Right.
to a small. I mean, it is a small amount.
It's a very small, it's just a taste.
But it's not zero. But it is not zero.
It doesn't have to be zero.
It does not have to be zero. It can be, but it does
can
not
be.
have to be.
The thing is like we've just said, everybody's different. We're all different.
Yeah.
We can be our own experiment. We have to figure it out for ourselves, because like maybe you can have that part of a banana. Maybe you can have some banana and you can still go on and not be affected negatively, or want more banana, or, whatever. Because some people can't have that much banana. They have to have the whole banana, and then they might have 2 bananas. Like, and that right there is still, it's up to you. But you're likely not going to be in ketosis if you have that much banana. That's just science.
No.
Probably a no. So if your goal is ketosis, no, I don't recommend you have a whole banana plus more. If you are one that cannot moderate, don't have a banana. But again, you have to figure it out for yourself.
Also to be noted here, you may start one way and you may change.
That's true. That's true.
Your girl right here has been an abstainer for an extremely long time. I did not have a good relationship with food, and I didn't trust myself to have a banana or even a portion of banana or have an off day. For me, once again, the fear of coming so far to only come so far was crippling.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
It made me make different choices. Now, in the long run, for me, and falling off the diet wagon how many times, my track record wasn't so great. Right. Your girl was not doing so hot. So you know what? I had to be strict with myself. I had to, because I was out of control and I knew myself. I had an honest conversation. You don't do so well. You don't do so well with all this stuff and letting yourself go and making excuses for the weekends and dibbling and dabbling in and out. You've proven that doesn't work. You need to be strict. You need to get your stuff together. So I had to cut the things out.
Yeah.
And I did. Now, when there's a special event and I want to have a bite of cake or I want to have
your grandma's
my
special
grandmother's
foods.
Special food, you know, our family's German. I want to indulge in that meal. It's full of carbs. I can have that meal.
And you can still be okay. Isn't that
and
great? You've come a long way, baby.
Destroy anything, right?
Yeah.
It hasn't destroyed anything, but you know what? You have to, there's a time and a place for all this style, all these styles of eating and all this, you know, growth and evolution. You may start one place. And that's why I said, don't ever tell yourself, I'm never going to have that again. I can never eat this.
It's not realistic.
You don't know what you're capable of, what you're going to accomplish, and what lies for you in the future during this period of becoming who you're supposed to be and your evolution of your journey.
Yeah. You know, as you say never. We talked about this, the pandemic, and a lot of people have certainly gone a different way and didn't stay focused on their goal and maybe left the weight loss journey that they were on.
Right.
Some have come back. But I was going to say, there are circumstances and situations that can certainly derail you. These things come up that you didn't plan for. They're unforeseen. You don't know. It's circumstances, it's situations, it's challenges. They come up. And I literally just had one with Hurricane Ida. So
I know.
I'm in the South, and when there are hurricanes, and actually you've had them where you are too. It's not just a Southern thing. When there are hurricanes, what happens at the store? The shelves get empty.
There's nothing.
There's nothing. And then if you have the situation like we just had with Ida, there's still nothing because there's still 500,000 people without power.
Yeah.
The fast food even, like my son's been trying to order pizza, bless his heart, and nobody has pizza. They don't have the supplies. So they can't get the supplies to the stores.
Yeah.
So the stores' shelves are empty. You kind of take what you can get. And so we had this hit, and I had stopped, if you recall, I had stopped ordering replacements because I went whole food. Whole food.
Yeah.
Well, guess what doesn't last that long? Whole food.
Yes, it is definitely like an eat on demand situation.
Right. Especially if you lost power. That stuff does not. Yeah.
It doesn't keep. Yeah.
So this is what we just went through. And so I ate what was here. Now, I watched my portions. I kept my habit of eating the way I do.
Right.
It's just, it wasn't.
You had to pivot.
My goal, you know what? My goal was not ketosis. My goal was survival. I mean, so sometimes that happens, you know?
That does happen.
But then, you know what? Today, I'm back at it. That's it.
Did you ever think that you, in the past, like all these years later, would just be able to like not do it and then, or do anything, right? Something, and then just like, oh, I'm back.
You know what? This was a huge test for me. You know that I've done one free day a month. And I'm able to get right back. Because in my mindset, it's like, okay, Molly, you have this day, tomorrow, back to normal. I've not done 4 days or 5 days
Straight. Yeah.
in a row of things like a burger bun, like a regular burger bun, because I didn't have my replacement. If I had my replacement, I would have had my replacement.
Yeah.
Because I went the whole food way, I haven't ordered one of those orders from Nutrition in like 2 months. So I didn't have a supply. I didn't have a stock of low carb buns and low carb pita, low carb, I didn't have all that. So I had the regular. I had 4 or 5 days. I would have never thought, like, that was it for me before. It's like, oh, I'm back to my normal way. That's how it would have been. But I knew it was circumstantial. It was for a moment. And here's the other thing. Will it happen again? Probably. Reality is probably. Yes. You have to do what you can do. That's what you have to do. And sometimes it's short. Sometimes it's a little longer. But in my mind, I know that my health journey's not over. So I wouldn't continue eating like that because that is no way to eat every day. Like, no
and keto's
way.
Your home. Like we say that all the time. Keto's your home.
And certainly it wouldn't be my keto way. But I wouldn't even want to eat like that if I wasn't keto anymore. All those carbs. Listen, I've got a little visitor on my face that I haven't had in a very long time. I'm bloated. I was swollen. I don't. Carbs, thank you. No, ma'am. Thank you. No, I don't want that anymore. That's a choice I've made for my health. And so, that was my I wanted to add that because it was exactly what you're saying. So we have these moments. Did I think that I could go right back before? This was a good test for me. And I saw that I can, and I did. So I'm like, okay, do I want to do it again?
Like you
Not for a long time.
For your life. That's how you know.
That's how you know it's a lifestyle.
This is your life. This isn't just your journey. This is your life we're talking about.
Yeah. And you got to be realistic about it.
You can be completely derailed for almost a week. And you're like, I'm back.
I know, it's a wonderful thing.
I was not even enjoying that. I had to do it, but I wasn't even like that jazzed. Like I'm back.
And how many times have we heard people say, oh my gosh, I want to go back. I cannot wait to get back to keto because I am feeling like crud. I've heard that so often.
It is. It's disappointing because you make the choice. And I think, that it can also be a deterrent for some people when they hear people talk about like, oh my gosh, I have ketosis. That can keep people from even starting because they don't really know what we're talking about. Like,
well, that's true.
They're like ketosis. I mean, well, I don't want to start anything where I have one meal off and it's all over. And in the beginning, it can be a little touch and go like that, where you do have to put a lot of effort in and a lot of thought into what you're doing. Once again, that doesn't mean that you have to live without every single thing. It means you have to make different choices.
And that's with everything.
Yeah. I mean, that's with everything.
If you're being mindful.
Balance, right?
Right.
And in this style of eating, because we're limiting the carbs, we get to add more fat to our diet. And to me, that's more filling. It's
so much tastier too.
Flavorful. I mean, the vegetable situation, we talked about this like a million times, but the vegetable situation's out of control. I'm getting so many more nutrients. Antioxidants from my foods than I ever was. And it makes a big difference. It really does.
You feel different. So,
it can be a little scary to hear people say, oh, well, I ate that, so I won't be in ketosis. But let me tell you something. I have been doing this for so long. Do I feel great when I eat carbs or I go off? No, I don't feel great. I usually feel bloated and I usually feel tired. That's the first thing that I notice. And my mom is keto and she says the same thing. She's like, oh,
I napped yesterday.
Tired. It's just such a shock, right?
It is. My body said, that's enough.
Right.
I'm exhausted. Stop it.
I'm not. Exactly. And I feel the same way. I just get a little lethargic. I get a little unmotivated.
Well, our bodies respond to what we do. They're going to respond to us and they're showing us, hey, look, you want to keep eating this way? That's fine. But we're going to have to put in nap time. You're going to have to go to bed early.
Right. I don't have the motivation to exercise because I do feel heavy and full and bloated. My clothes are a little bit tight because I do like eating, a very carb heavy meal. I feel the effects of that.
Yeah.
So, do you have to worry about being in and out? I don't think you should worry so much about being in and out as you should worry about making good choices for you and making sustainable choices.
Yeah.
We have people in our community, there are things that they cannot give up. Right.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was like a beer at night.
Mm-hmm.
You made it work. A way
yeah.
to make that work every single night. Did I have to make sacrifices during the day or different choices? Mm-hmm. Yes, because I wanted to work that in. Yeah. I did it for months. But eventually I thought, you know what? I'd rather have a couple more pieces of bacon than that beer. So that's what,
Right. So
or
you
whatever. Or
adjust
I
and
want
you
to have a
may,
dessert and I
yeah,
don't want to drink the beer.
right,
So I would, or it was sometimes it was a little bit of wine or whatever. I
right.
had that nightcap for a long time before I made different choices.
Yeah.
And I think that that's like the biggest thing that I would want someone to hear, right? Is that don't be afraid of what you might have to do now because it will very quickly change. If you're
Change.
really finding your groove and you're finding your journey and it's unfolding and you're feeling good and you're finding your way by you experimenting on
Yes.
yourself,
Being your own experiment. Yes.
exactly, then you're gonna find that you're gonna start making different choices and your tastes are gonna change and all of these
Oh
things
gosh,
kind of
yes, yeah.
align.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. The food issue. Okay, so a pet peeve that I have is when people say keto food, and I know what they mean, but it always bugs me. And you know that because I was like, keto's not a food. Keto's not a food. Keto is not a food. Like that's
Yes, I know.
so.
Well, and I know part of that is too like the just the labeling
Well, that's what I was about to
that has
say.
been done.
But now they're putting things in the market and they're labeling
Yeah.
it keto. It's like, wait a minute. What are you doing? Well, we need to be aware. That is marketing. That is
Yes.
money making. That is someone
Sometimes that's
doing
what
the
people
adjustments
think
they
the
need to
diet
do
is.
in order to check the macros so they can go,
Right.
oh, we can say keto, when the reality is keto's not a food. So you need to, even on those products that say, oh, keto, still do your own investigation. Look at the
Yeah.
label, read the ingredients, because things
Right.
like that, even if it's keto, which again it is because keto is not a food.
It
So
may still not work for your
it
macros or
still
it
may
might
not work for
fine.
your macros. So don't be
Right.
fooled to believe that. And also, as well, what might work for one person, and we'll get into this another episode, but just to say, there's certain things that Ashley can't have that I can have and still
Yeah.
stay in ketosis, and vice
Mhm.
versa. So we're all different. And so you have to, we cannot stress this enough. You have to be your own experiment if you want to really get to know
What
yourself
yeah,
through this
what you should
process
be doing for you is going to
for
come
you.
from what you've done, what you've tried, what you've
It's the
experimented
only
with.
way.
The rule of thumb is like the I have no idea what I'm doing. What is keto? It's, 2000, if you're eating 2000 calories, it's 20 net carbs, which is usually total carbs is usually somewhere around like 50 or more total. Um, and that's kind of like the soft layout of like what we think of, what we're finding. Obviously, like for myself, it is different for me. It's less than that for me now. And you have found that you can
As,
tolerate a little bit more
as long as
for
they're
as
whole
long as
food,
it's whole foods,
not the
right?
replacements. They don't, I can't do it.
Exactly. I can't do a lot of the replacements either. But that being said, you can start at that 20 point, but you should be experimenting on where your threshold is. Can you
That's what
get
I
away with
did.
more?
That's what I
Or
did.
do you need to do less? For me, I tend to have to stay at like 20 total, but I've been doing this a long time. My body's like very regulated to what I'm doing and higher carbs for me. Obviously, I do think that the insulin resistant
I
part
was
for me
going to
is
say
obviously a
that's,
situation
and your
because it's
mom
it's very
is insulin
right.
resistant with diabetes. I mean,
Exactly.
so it
So there could be some stuff going on
correlation.
there,
Yeah.
correlation there.
Yeah.
And for me, it's obviously more noticeable. So I choose a different path.
But no one can tell you that. You had to figure that out for
No, I
yourself.
did what everyone else did and followed the same rules that I thought
Right.
were what everyone was doing.
And that's what I did at the beginning. And then I was like, maybe I can get away with a little more. So I just had a little more and a little
A
more
little
and
bit
a little
more.
more. And then, like I said, when it came to the replacements, I was just, I guess, having too many. And again, that worked for me for a while. But once I did the whole food way, now I'm like, why did I not always do this? I don't think I
I
could have done
swear the
it. So
food
it all
tastes
happens
better.
for a
Yeah.
reason. And I am
Yeah.
where I am now, and I had to go, I had to do what I did to get here to be where I am now. And my taste buds had to change, and they did. And now I appreciate the whole foods. Man, I got my husband planting me a garden,
I
a
love that.
big garden that I plan on doing all the right things to. I can't wait to. Oh, I can't wait to get that thing going. I mean, who the heck am I? I don't.
I mean,
the,
and you know
the
what's
girl
crazy
had
is
boxed mashed potatoes and sometimes green beans growing up. Other than that, No veggies.
No veggies.
No veggies till I was in my
And
40s.
you know what's crazy is like you feel like you've come a long way, but what's so amazing is I know that you will continue to morph and evolve. And
Yes,
that
yes, we will.
is
Yes.
exciting.
So exciting.
That this
Growth
could
is
be
exciting.
that there's even more and you don't know.
Evolving is wonderful. Don't let anyone tell you any different. Evolving is a beautiful thing, and it's certainly something I embrace and welcome in my life. And I know you do as well.
Don't be afraid to experiment with your food. Be your own experiment, as Molly always says, and find out what works for you. Get excited about that. Don't get too caught up in what you can't and can't have.
Yeah.
Think about what you're now going to be able to have. Think about the things that you're looking forward to. Make the meal plans that work for you, that make you excited to eat the foods,
Then
and that help you get into ketosis.
Yes, yes.
And do what works for you. Some of us won't be able to let things go, and we will find a way to work those things in until we can. And don't get hung up on that.
Right,
Make
it
it
could
work
change.
until it no longer serves you.
Yes, I love it.
It could come to that point, and you will change many times over in your journey, as you should.
I was
as
gonna say,
you're
that's a
blossoming into
good
the person
thing.
you were supposed to be,
Yes, love
and the
it.
journey that you're supposed to be on. And when you do this and you find out who you are and what you want to be, you can share your journey with others, and everybody gets something amazing out of that.
Yes, they do. Okay,
When you make yourself better, you make your community better. When you make your community better, you make yourself better. Because
we're all better, stronger, and better together. Well, thank y'all so much for joining us today, and we're going to see you next time.
Bye, guys. Love you.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us today. You can find and connect with us over on Instagram at More Than Just Keto. Don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss out on the fun. We'll see you next time.